I'm looking forward to this business.
Look what I got.
I think I know. Tell me more.
Yeah, 10 million. Not just of these, but the new iPhones, the 6 to 6 Plus. 10 million last weekend was sold. Apple has been, rejoicing. Some problems right now. I'll explain. Thanks very much, Tim. Hello there. Yes, huge commercial success of its iPhone 6 launch. Little slip up there last week. That is threatening to turn into a public relations disaster. Apple was, as I just mentioned, it was busy hailing its best ever weekend of sales until Bendgate. Yes, a spate of complaints on social media that the new flagship iPhone 6 Plus can be bent easily, well, when you put it in your back pocket. I guess don't put it in your back pocket. And it is a bit of a double whammy for Apple because there's been an uproar over its new software update. Let's get more on this. Dave Lee, our technology correspondent, joins us. Dave, great to have you on the program. So I know this is yours anyway, well, Apple's, but and you got the other one, right? The iPhone 6. So the problem with the bend is this one, 6 Plus, like here. I mean, one would imagine when they're launching a product and they're doing all sorts of tests, somebody didn't think of a bend test.
Well, here's the thing. When they're launching something like this, the challenge is to make it the thinnest phone, make it the lightest phone, make it the best looking. And, of course, the trade-off, I guess, is that you've got a thin phone that can bend in your pocket. Now, the problem affects this one worse than the smaller one, but that's obviously just a matter of physics, isn't it? It's bigger.
It's bigger, but it's a similar size. I mean, in terms of the thickness, right?
Yes.
The width. And how widespread is this bend problem?
Well, there's lots of people on Twitter saying they've had the problem. Lots of people wondering whether they can take them back to the store and have their money back if they found it is a problem. I'm worried you're going to break that one in front of me now. Apple haven't said anything about that yet. We're still waiting for their response in terms of how they're going to deal with it. In the past, when there's been problems, they've said, you know, buy a case or you're holding it.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. We had that problem. Yeah, so or buy a case. Could make some money from that, or they will supply a case for it.
Yes, that's happened in the past. There's been an issue with the antenna on previous iPhones where if you were holding it in a certain way, the signal would drop out. And so their suggestion was either hold it differently or they provided people with a case that meant you didn't have to hold it in the same way, and that apparently solved the problem. So they have had this sort of problem in the past and dealt with it, but what they're going to do about this one, we're not sure.
I'm no bodybuilder, but that's quite tough to actually bend, and you wouldn't be doing that with a product anyway. A double whammy we've been mentioning, because the software, this new iOS 8 software, what's happening there?
So iOS 8 is the new software they launched at the same time as this to make the phones more up-to-date. They've recently added a patch to that, an extra update to it. There's been some problems with that. It's caused phones to stop being able to make phone calls, which is
a bit of a problem,
a fairly standard feature for a phone. So they've actually recalled that smaller update until they fix those. So it's kind of embarrassing for Apple. They put out something new and immediately it hasn't worked for them. So they're busy
so
fixing
these
that.
two problems combined, I mean, will they have much of a dent, much of an impact on the
any launch like this, and particularly Apple, any launch like this, people are looking for those things that are going to be the controversial, the kind of, you know, egg on the face thing for Apple. Long term, probably won't have much of an issue, as you mentioned at the start there. A massive week of sales in the first few days. So, you know, really, in real terms, financially, Apple probably won't be too bothered. Perhaps a bit embarrassing for the brand, but not a big problem overall.
Well, interesting stuff. Do you want to hang on to this, or should I?
I'll take that from you
You
before
sure?
you snap it in
Actually,
half.
you can have this because it's got a bend. I don't want that lousy product. You go that way, Dave. Good stuff, mate. Thank you for joining me.